Hello, my name is Bellamy and I'm here to talk to you about cross stitch. You can do a whole lot of things with cross stitch. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. I have, in fact, even a coaster here with an adorable little Pokemon in a room. The supplies you're gonna need are a sewing needle with a large eye, an embroidery hoop or frame, sized for your desired pattern, embroidery floss, scissors, Ida cloth, a pattern for your project. Optional supplies are an embroidery floss organizer, a heat erasing pen. It's really nice. You can mark on your Ida cloth your whole pattern and then use a blow dryer on it and the pen marks will disappear. You'll art software on your tablet or phone. I use Ibis paint. We'll go over that later. A stand to hold your hoop or frame, and a magnetic needle minder. Cross-stitch terms defined. Cross-stitching is a form of embroidery in which each of the stitches makes a cross or an X shape. A few terms that are very relevant to cross-stitch, though we won't be using all of them, so don't panic. Ida is a stiff, even weave fabric that is great for beginners. The count is the number of squares per inch in the fabric. A needle minder is a decorative magnet that holds your needle. A tapestry needle is a blunt needle used for cross-stitch. And WIP is work in progress. Step 1. Your very first step is going to be to plan the outcome of your project. You'll want to know what size hoop or picture frame you're going to want this piece in before you even go get the supplies. You'll need to know the colors and how much embroidery floss you're going to need, but you'll want to do research and get an outcome planned first. How does one go about picking out or making a pattern? I use Pinterest to look for patterns. I found a lot of really cute ones on there, but if I can't find one that I want to do, I can also get an image up and I'll use Ibis paint to make my own pattern. I actually realized I don't know how to read a regular pattern, so I did find a tutorial here on notoriousneedle.com. Here's the URL if you would like to use that. As far as making your own pattern, what I do, I have Ibis Paint. It is a free art program, and you pull up the picture you want to use on one layer, and then a grid, cross-stitch grid, above that on a separate layer. As you can see here, I have, oh my goodness, I have a picture of my cat. Right here, you can see I've kind of started to color in some of these squares. Sometimes it makes it a little bit easier to read, but you don't really have to do that part. Each of these spaces between the two bold lines are 10 stitches, and this just kind of helps you understand exactly what size your pattern is going to end up being. Step 2. As I said before, don't buy a hoop or frame yet. You still have to size your pattern. You're going to want to size and then cut your Ida cloth to the size of your pattern. On 14 count Ida, which is what I have here, 14 of these little rows is going to be equal to 1 inch. On 16 count, 16 would be equal to 1 inch. So you're going to use that as your guideline and measure how much Ida cloth is needed for your project. I cannot stress enough, remember to measure twice, cut once. Measure it once, double check it, triple check it even. Make sure your measurements are correct before making the cut. It really hurts to cut your fabric and find out that you don't have enough fabric to do your project, and then you have to start completely over again. You're going to want to leave 2 to 3 inches extra for a mistake allowance and to sew together when finishing the piece. Now you're going to want to set the Ida cloth in the embroidery hoop or frame. Now when you use a hoop, it creases the fabric really bad, so I recommend using PVC, which you can get and make yourself. When we get to the end, there's the source for this, there's a link there where they actually have a tutorial on how to make your own PVC frame with the stand. There's also scroll frames, which are great, but they warp the fabric. So my recommendation is to use the PVC. Step 5 is to cut an arm's length of embroidery floss. And there's a really fun trick to this. To get the amount of strands that you want, all you have to do is grab one and pull it out. We have pulled out one strand, and this is untangled. And it's not even kind of tangled. It's some black magic, witchcraft. It's awesome. Super fun trick. I usually use, though, 2 to 3 strands for my embroidery projects. Ah, yes, a stab warning. You're gonna have to thread the embroidery floss through the eye of the needle. It helps to wet the end of the floss and twist it a little between your fingers so it's more pointed. A lot of people use thimbles. I don't own one. It can be made out of many materials. There's steel, brass, gold, leather. All of these work to protect your fingers from getting stabbed. Now you're going to locate your starting point on your Ida cloth and begin to stab. There's a few different methods people use. I usually work one color at a time, filling all the squares that have that color, and then moving on. Some other people will work on a whole section, such as like a 2 by 2 inch square, and they'll do all the colors in that section. I can't do that because I find it impossible to manage for me. When you're stitching, make sure to leave a tail at the end of your floss that's long enough to finish off that stitch. When you've gotten close to the end of the strand you're working with, you need to secure it. There are a couple methods I will share with you. You can pull your thread out the back of the fabric and then thread it through, as in this picture, thread it through the back stitches. The other method is to do the same thing, except tie it on the end. A lot of people don't want to tie it, but I do, because if I don't, my projects always come apart. I don't know why. Step 9 is just to follow your pattern. Repeat steps 5 through 8 until your pattern is completed. Once it's done, we'll need to go ahead and finish it by putting the fabric in the picture frame or finishing off the embroidery hoop that it's in. As you can see here, you're going to use a lacing pattern to stitch it closed. And that's true whether you're on a picture frame or an embroidery hoop. Some people like to use hot glue or super glue to make sure it's secure. If you do this, do not let the glue get on any visible part of your project. It will mess it up. It will be ugly. Don't do it. It's not safe. Here are my sources. Thank you so much for watching my presentation, and I hope you have a wonderful day.